Let's see singleton versus prototype. Okay, singleton versus prototype. For any web application or standalone application, singleton scope is enough. Singleton scope is enough to create and manage your objects. In case of singleton, same number of objects, same number of classes. How many number of classes you have, the same number of objects will be created in your application. Consider a telecom domain application. I have created classes to process my data, telecom data. Okay, postpaid service I have postpaid service. For postpaid service I have implemented postpaid controller, postpaid service, and postpaid DAO. And same way I have prepaid services, prepaid services, prepaid controller, prepaid service, prepaid repository. I have, for each use case I have three classes. For each use case I have three classes to store the or to process the prepaid or postpaid information. Okay, so you may have millions of users for that particular telecom project. You may have millions of users. Consider Geo, so they may have, right, almost 10 crore customers or more than that, I believe they have in their network. So for 10 crore people, every month it will generate prepaid billing, and it will send notification to postpaid people also. Whenever we recharge, it will create or it will update our data. So every month and every day there will be lot of postpaid recharges will happen, and prepaid payments also will happen on daily basis. Imagine per day this telecom project getting 10 lakh request. If this project deployed into a server, where they have memory of 16 GB RAM and something 1 TB SSD, they are maintaining there. If you use singleton as a scope for this controllers and services, altogether you will be having 6 objects. Altogether you will be having, for prepaid 3 objects, and postpaid 3 objects. For this it will create 3 objects, and here for postpaid also you will be having 3 objects. 6 objects are sufficient for the 10 crore people. You need not to really worry about providing brand new object for each user. If I recharge, need not to create a new object, either prepaid or postpaid. The existing object should execute and process it. So what things do I need to take care? As I am using a single object, right sir, is it not going to create any problem? If I try to do recharge of 100 rupees. At the same time, if someone tried to do recharge of 1000 rupees, will it not going to override my parameters as it is a one single object? Will it not affect my recharge by the new user recharge? It is not happening, right? Though it is a singleton, so no such issue will happen because your applications, mostly all these applications are web applications. Imagine a insurance project where you are buying a insurance or upgrading your insurance, or a banking service where you are depositing amount or withdrawing, or a e-commerce application where you are searching a product, buying a product. Okay, take any use case, how singleton is safe. Okay, so let's imagine all these applications are web applications. They will be deployed into a server like Tomcat. Imagine every request which you made, if it is a web application, every request which you made, it will receive by Tomcat. So here I have prepaid screen and postpaid screen. So from prepaid, giving phone number and amount to recharge, and in postpaid, bill amount, phone number, bill, how much bill I got. So lot of prepaid customers can recharge from prepaid screen. Postpaid customers can pay bills from their postpaid screens. Millions of users expecting to do prepaid and postpaid. So will it not affect one user recharge with another user? Means no. You will be deploying your application into many users are accessing, right? So at a time they may access your application. For every minute millions of users may access, and you have code here for each use case. The backend code you have here. For each use case, the backend code you have here. So you have implemented here prepaid controllers, prepaid services, prepaid DAOs. Same way postpaid. So if I use IOC container, to create these objects, how many IOC containers I need for both prepaid and postpaid? If I have a single application, all my backend classes, all prepaid classes, prepaid controllers, services, DAOs. And postpaid services I have here. All these classes will be loaded into single IOC only. One IOC container per entire application. One IOC container is enough. So we are two people are working on different modules. So shall I use two XML files here? Means yes, you can use prepaid XML, you can use postpaid XML, you can use. When you have multiple modules, right, need not to have same XML file, you can have multiple XML files, and end of the day all these XML files will be loaded into single IOC only. Only one IOC server, only one IOC context you will be having. So your prepaid and postpaid both will be loaded here, and it will create all your objects, prepaid objects, postpaid object. End of the day it will create only 6 objects. End of the day it is going to create 6 objects in case of singleton, right? 6 objects it will create overall. Okay, so don't we get any problem while using singleton? You will get problem if you are not properly writing your classes. Okay, so what things you need to take care as I'm creating these classes as a singleton classes while creating your controller service or DAO, right? While creating your controller service or DAO, any class, right? Controller, for example, controller, I'm getting data, sir. I'm getting data from prepaid screen. Tomcat is getting data from Tomcat, it will be transferred to your controller. This is how my class is. This is how my class is. I have implemented a class controller, and here I have method recharge phone number and a certain amount. Phone number, amount are two inputs. So once I receive data, I'll be recharging it. I'll be sending from controller to the next class. So for example, if I declare these variables are coming from end user sending his phone number and amount to recharge. So whichever parameters you have for the end user, whichever parameters you have here for the end user, that end user variables will be directly given into your methods only. If you see, recharge is a method, data given into method. You should not declare these variables which are required for this end user, right? Phone number or amount here in the class instance level. Sir, I'm getting phone number and amount. Shall I declare them here in the class instance level? Means no, that is a bad way of coding. End user variables, you never declare them into instance level. End user variables, right? What are the two end user variables he is submitting? Phone number and amount. So when I put phone number and amount in method level as a method input, I'll be getting data. So from here I'll process it. Along with declare them in local, if I globally declare here and if I try to override them, this phone number if I assign to this and this amount if I assign to this, I may get problems because one user entered his amount and his phone number. Example, I given my phone number with my recharge amount. The same instance of time, one more guy, he entered his details also from his browser and he entered the data. So my data just I submitted, it went there, and phone number and amount submitted to my method, and as well as assigned that variables into instance level variables. You know, right? Local variables are method level variables, and whichever I declared in class level are global variables. So my variables or my inputs assigned to class level data. What will happen if other user at the same instance of time, one more user if he access and if he entered his data to recharge, consider Ganesh entered his number and data to recharge. So he given some number 6305 and some amount he entered. So what will happen if I declare variables into class instance level while using singleton scope? Okay, so his data also will be submitted here. Okay, in method level his data is safe, whichever two variables he declared, but when he assigned this data to class instance level, previously whichever data I have there, so that data will be override. Firstly, my data was there, Firstly my data was there, amount and phone number. At the same time, when other user entered his data, my data will be gone. My data will overwrite. So this data will flushed out and new data will be overwrites here. Then finally from here it will process, send data to service and DAO. DAO will store data into database. Where is my data? My data is gone, override by other user. So though I entered proper amount and phone number, my recharge will not happen. So operation will go fail or unsuccessful because you declared variables class level and those are getting override by latest data. At the same time, when multiple users request, your data will be override by others data. Just a minute. So you should not declare any class level variables here. You should not declare any class level variables here. Okay. So how Tomcat will send data? Many users data we are getting. Tomcat will not override them, one user data by another user. No. Tomcat is implemented in such a way, right? When you put threshold or concurrent threads, right, each server is having some concurrent capability. Tomcat may have concurrency of like at a time 1000 users or 10,000 users, right? It may accept based on the configuration that you do. So 10,000 users at a time, if you allow access from the Tomcat, what it will do, for each user, right, it will create a new thread. In Corejava you must heard about threads. Thread means a separate memory. Okay, firstly thread means a separate memory. So it will create a new memory blocks or buckets for us. So for my data it will create one memory, one thread. For your data it will create one thread. So via my thread only my data will be submitted to method. So if data in method level, which is safe, this data is safe. But if you declare variables in class level and if you try to manipulate them, that is a bad idea. Those are not safe. Always this class level data will be override by latest data. So that's why we never put any data in class level. We never put data in class level. Okay, particularly user variables for user related operations, right? Whichever data we have, that data will be traveled via methods only. That data will traveled via methods only. We don't put anything in class instance level. That is a bad idea. That's why singleton object scope is sufficient, because I submitted my request, sir. Yes, your request will be stored into a different thread in Tomcat. So 10 users at a time request, 10 threads will be created. So each user thread information will be passed to his own method, right? So it will be submitted to recharge method. I submitted, for me it will create new memory. So for you it will create new memory, right? So we'll have different set of memories as it is traveling through thread. So we both will have altogether new memory. So this is my memory area. Here all my operations will execute. Here this is your memory area, all your operations will be executed. So when you travel your data via methods, right, in controller we submit to controller method. From controller we submit to service method. From service to we submit to DAO method. From DAO method to safely we insert data into database. So there is no way that you will get any issues. But if you declare variables in the instance level, not safe. In instance level they are not safe as they are singleton. Your data must be override by even other threads also. Okay, that's why singleton scope is recommended, because your server can able to handle the data. Okay, your server can able to handle the data. So you are mentioning Tomcat with the Spring. Do we need to really use Tomcat? Yes, if it is a REST application or web based application, web or REST application, we use Tomcat. You said IOC itself is a container. Why do we need Tomcat? To save your data from front end, right? From to accept data which is coming from browsers or REST clients, Tomcat is required. Tomcat is the point where you receive the data. From here, Tomcat will start your IOC. Tomcat will start your IOC. IOC will manage all your backend objects, right? So this Tomcat in Spring framework we download and use it. In Spring Boot framework we have embedded Tomcat. You need not to specially bring a new Tomcat. You can use the embedded Tomcat which is available in Spring Boot itself, that we will discuss in Spring Boot. Okay, so earlier what happened, Tomcat used to create servlet objects and all, it used to manage. We used to have a dependency on the Tomcat. Still we have the dependency, as it is a open source, you can use it. Okay, and this Tomcat server will help you to read data which is coming from browser data. It will read from here, it will transfer to your backend classes which are implemented in Spring. Okay, so overall complete classes, right? All the backend classes will be implemented in Spring only. End-to-end classes will be implemented in Spring only, and all that classes are going to run in IOC only. The only help Tomcat do is it will accept front-end request or any HTTP client request to here. From here it will safely transfer your data. So that's where the Tomcat is required to us. Okay, yeah. So singleton scope is recommended. When I use singleton, only one object will be created. So overall for 6 classes 6 objects will be created, so that efficiently I can manage my memory, server memory efficiently I can utilize. If I use a prototype scope, what will happen? For every user it will create a brand new object. Unnecessarily it will put load on your machine. Okay, to improve performance, first thing is maintain your classes as singletons. To improve performance of your application, maintain your classes as singletons. The benefit with singleton with in Spring IOC is singleton objects are initialized during deployment time. Singleton objects are initialized during deployment. Singleton objects are initialized during deployment. So what is the benefit if it is initialized during deployment? User need not to wait for instantiation of object, right? If it is already available, he need not to wait. He need not really wait for the object instantiation, because they are already initialized. So you need not to wait for the object. During server startup itself they are initialized. So that is the benefit. It will consume less memory. Consume less memory in server RAM. It will consume less memory in server RAM. So prototype is quietly opposite. They are initialized during user request, and user need not to wait in case of singleton, right? In case of prototype, user should wait. So that DO object, service object, controller objects, all objects will be created, then his request will be processed. consumes lot of memory in your RAM. Sometimes it may go out of memory also when I use prototype. So always I would recommend you to go with singleton scope. Singleton scope only. Okay. So now you understand what is the singleton and what is the prototype, how singletons are safe, how to make singleton objects safe by avoiding class level variables, okay, and how to implement my application clear with singleton and prototype. Okay, the first feature with IOC is understand IOC container creating objects. IOC container is creating my backend objects and managing via XML file when I load it. Okay, so we are able to create objects via IOC. How that objects will connect to each other? When I submit data from front end, right, Tomcat will send your data to controller first. From controller, how you can transfer data to service, or from service how you transfer data to DAO. They need to be connected together. In a traditional way, in Corejava, what we do, if you have many classes, if you want to connect them, so I have a class here, employee controller, which is receiving the front end data, register method, as you said, sir, I declared all the variables, employee name, email, address in method level only, nothing in the class instance level, so I made it safe. Okay, so I have a registration method in employee controller class, and I have a business class, employee business or service. So there also I have same method, create employee name, email, address, and I have a DAO where I am doing database CRUD operations. I have a save method here, name, email, address. So I have implemented 3 backend classes with 3 methods. How they connect? Actually, whenever I get data from front end, this data will be populating here, right, into this method. All your name, email, address are getting loaded here. From here, how you will send it to this next method. From this method to save method, how you will send it. Finally, DAO will keep your data into database table. How it will go to database table. Okay, so once I get data here, from here to here I need to transfer. How I can send? I need a object. When you create objects, this is simple. Employee service, you need not to worry about any other help when you create your objects on your own. You can call service dot create employee, and you can pass the same data, name, email, address, you can send. Correct? You can create service object so that you can pass data. I created service object, so the service object method will be available to me. I'm calling it, and from here employee DAO object I create, and DAO dot save method I can call, and I can pass name, email, address data. But when you use new keyword, right, it will create a brand new object. If I submit this registrations, right, 1000 employee registrations or 10,000 employee registrations happen. If request count is 10,000, request count is happen, requested employee count is 10,000. So obviously when it populate data into this register method, from here if you create brand new object, every time new object will be created, means you are making it prototype, so unnecessarily it will put load every time. So you should not do this, you should not do this, you should not hard code any objects, you should not hard code any objects. Employee service object or employee do object you should not create yourself. Why? Already IOC container is doing that. So okay, you are saying IOC container is doing that. So whatever container created object, at least how I can get that object here, I want to call method, how I can get that object here, I need at least that object reference, how I can get it. Getting right? I need a object at any cost to transfer my data from one method to another method. The flow need to happen, right? Flow should not break. If flow breaks, the use case will not execute. So I need variable from where I'll get that object, whichever object you are saying created by IOC, at least I need that object. You are not allowing me to create object, so then how I can get object? So whichever object IOC container is created, whichever object IOC container is getting created here, whichever objects it is getting created here, those objects it will supply to you via dependency injection. Okay, once object is ready, via dependency injection you can able to inject. So when you need these objects, right, you need not to create them. What you can do instead, dependency injection, employee service, the advanced logic I am showing, employee service variable declare into your class level with @auto_wired. When you put a variable with @auto_wired, whichever object IOC container will create, that it will supply here. Same way, service needs a employee do object, you declare it in class level and @auto_wired. You can have all these auto-wired objects in class level, and if you have some common properties for all the methods, you can declare them into the class level. No issues. They are not user inputs or user variables. So when you configure your classes, this employee DAO here into your service class with auto-wired, now Spring will understand, okay, I am creating a object, right? That object developer is expecting to auto-wire automatically here. So it will create a object of employee DAO that will be passed here. Same way, whichever service object it is created, that service object will be passed here. Now, can't I use this variable in my methods? Service variable is available, DAO variable is available. Can't I able to call these methods? I can. See, simply we avoided object creation. Whichever object container is creating, that is getting injected here via auto wiring. So no worries to me. My object is getting injected. Okay. So via auto wiring, we inject this object. We call it as dependency injection. We call it as dependency injection. Okay. So I hope you understand the need of auto wiring here, or dependency injection. You can call it as, dependency injection. Via auto wiring we are achieving it. Okay, I'll show you from basic example. Okay, I'll show you from basic example tomorrow how auto wiring or dependency injection will work. Okay, tomorrow we will see dependency injection with the auto wiring. Auto wiring is the way to do the dependency injection. Okay, so we'll talk more in depth about this in tomorrow's session. Is that clear?